Hello, welcome. We are Ian and Rebecca Dixon, not as you may have thought, Phil and Holly. We're here to do a talk on behalf of the church. And we're going to start with a Bible reading. It's Romans 12, verses 6 to 8. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. If it is to lead, do it diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully.
1 Corinthians 12 verse 5 says, "There are different ministries, but the same Lord."
As a church, we are doing a series of gifts on the Spirit, and we have been asked to talk about the gift of service. But what is service? Everyone is involved in service. It's a basic Christian principle.
1 Peter chapter 4 verses 10 to 11 says, "Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others, as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. If anyone speaks, they should do so as one who speaks the very words of God. If anyone serves, they should do so with the strength God provides, so that in all things God may be praised through Jesus Christ. If you've ever made someone a meal, helped on serving Saturdays, helped a neighbour in need, called someone on the road, sent a text to somebody to connect, then you have served them, and in doing so, you have served God."
Our church leaders, life group leaders, worship team, to name but a few, they serve us every week. The gift of service has been defined as demonstrating love by meeting practical needs. We started serving as it seemed the natural thing to do, without realising it was actually our gift. It was only later that it was pointed out to us that our gift was service. Our serving and your serving is not just confined to church though. It is in our homes, with our family and friends, in our community and at our workplaces. We do practical things at church because there is a need and we can help.
For those of you that don't know, we met at a theatre during a pantomime. We found that our theatre skills were easily transferable to the church environment. Me with my technical and sound skills, and Ian with his organisational skills. We've been able to use our skills outside of church too, to support people in our community and workplaces. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. Serving is in my DNA. My grandparents had the gift of service, and my parents as well. They all served at church in many ways. My parents also served at church and in the community, so it was just the natural thing for me to do, and was so from a young age. For me, I have a passion for helping people in whatever way I can. That may be in a practical way or as a listening ear. About 10 years ago, God spoke to me quite clearly, and it was that Ian and I would work together and we would be the givers, not the receivers. A little puzzling, but God knows what he's doing. Ian and I do quite different jobs, but we are now both involved in the same high school. We also work together in our serving at church. On this occasion, when God spoke to me, we were going through a challenging time, as Ian had been made redundant. We kept our eyes firmly on Jesus, and he provided in so many ways. During this period, God helped us to develop and grow in our gifting. Outside of church, I would often be found at Oliver and Hannah's first school, doing PTA work, listening to the children read, all those sorts of things you do when the children are young. Now I get involved in the community where we live and the events that often take place at the school where I work. I'm often on hand to help people or serve the refreshments. I even play in the school band, well, not now with the restrictions, but it's great to play alongside the pupils in school. My job involves serving as well. I'm a careers advisor in a secondary school, not only helping pupils work through their next steps, but also counselling them as they struggle their way with the stresses of school. I'm often a listening ear to staff as well. I do not have all the answers, but I will listen. This can be challenging at times though. In Grace Church, I've served in many different areas, on the worship team, sound, setup, and with GCY. In the past, we've hosted the Thursday night GCY meetings. Even though they were just using our home as a venue, it was lovely to hear the chatter and the laughter. There would always be cake. I served for about 4 years at New Day. Even though it's the most exhausting week you'll ever experience, I love to serve our young people so they can grow in their faith. I am a feeder as well. I love to cook and I love to bake. Lockdown restrictions have really got in the way of all of that. My serving is really so that I can help people and in some way make their life a bit easier.
For myself, I don't recall choosing to serve, it just came instinctively. I thought, or rather we thought, that we could help, offered, and it was gratefully received. To be gratefully accepted was a real blessing. It engenders a sense of belonging and value, so serving does bring its own rewards. I've served in the community by being a school governor for many years, and now as a trustee where I serve the Diocese of Worcester, as there's a Church of England school involved in our multi-academy trust. I'm also very blessed to be able to contribute in a very small way to the charity Hope at Home. Serving is so much wider than putting out chairs and planting shrubs. Many serve continually and very fruitfully in a host of different ways. Our leaders and life group leaders, administrators, worship team and others help and support us all in practical ways and small caring ways all the time. We serve each other whenever we take the time to talk, message, visit or pray for one another. Archbishop Desmond Tutu said, "Do your little bit of good where you are. It is those little bits of good that put together that overwhelm the world." Jesus gives us such a clear example of service in the Bible, so many examples, in his leadership of the disciples, his willingness to engage with everyone, his personal serving, for instance in the washing of the feet of the disciples, and the practical service in things like the feeding of the 5,000. And of course, the ultimate service. Matthew 20:28 tells us, "Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." We can only reflect Jesus in our own service, and a lot of what we do will be unseen by those that are not directly involved. But it's not unseen by the Lord. Job 28:24 says, "For he looks to the ends of the earth and sees everything under the heavens." John Wesley also had a very useful quote. "One of the principal rules of religion is to lose no occasion of serving God. And since he is invisible to our eyes, we are able to serve him in our neighbour, which he receives as if he's done to himself in person, standing visibly before us." My family and I have benefited from being served in many ways, from kind words and thoughts from people within the church, practical help in meals and lifts given, and support and encouragement when facing challenges. We know that how beneficial that was, so we try to reciprocate it with others. We're trying to follow the examples that Jesus gave.
When we serve, we take care to do a good job, but not to seek reward. We are encouraged to see a job well done and for the pleasure and benefit it brings to others. To see our children getting involved themselves is really encouraging to us. They've even been involved with filming and editing this video. Being restricted with lockdown has been discouraging as we've not been able to serve fully in many areas.
Always welcome and be open to people that want to serve. However much they can contribute, be it little or small. Be open to anyone who wants to serve, even if it means more work for you. Welcome and encourage them. For example, teaching children to cook takes twice as long as it would normally, but it's so worthwhile in the long run, and it benefits them as well as you being able to serve others. Hebrews 10:24 says, "And let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds."
What we say to each and every one of you is don't stop serving. You're already doing it. If you feel you can do a bit more, then do it. To give is greater than to receive. Acts chapter 20 verse 35. "In all things I have shown you that by working hard in this way, we must help the weak and remember the words of the Lord Jesus, how he himself said, 'It is more blessed to give than to receive.'"
Thank you for listening, and God bless.